Hello! Alright, we'll finish up the Back to the Future trilogy now with Back to the Future Part 72. Part 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. So, ta-da! Alright, let's stop farting around. So, following where the last one picked off, what happened? Well, Doc got zapped in the DeLorean by lightning, and got sent like to 1885. So now Marty has to talk to 1955 Doc to get Doc back, the regular Doc back. Only one problem: 1955 Doc passes out. So now we pick up. Now we see the same scene over again, and then we pick up at Doc's house, 1955. It's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. Doc wakes up, and now this Doc has to help Marty get back to 1885 to save Doc, because Doc is going to die in a shootout with Buford Mad Dog Tannen, who was mentioned in a previous film. It didn't look exactly like he did, but I find it weird that that's the thing I focused on while watching this, is that Buford in the picture Back to the Future 2 doesn't look anything like the Buford in Back to the Future 3. And it's even more confusing because they're filming this back to back. So it's confusing. But, yeah. So, Marty's talking to 1955 Doc, and they note that tells them where to find the DeLorean, and they fix it up, they get ready to go, or they're gonna fix it up and get ready to go, and they tell Copernicus, who is Doc's dog in 1955, that tells Copernicus, come on, let's go, come on, Copernicus, come on. And so he's sitting in front of this grave, and Marty goes to collect him, and he notices the grave says, it's Doc's grave. This is exactly when Doc dies, how he dies, basically. And this is the picture. He takes a picture with the camera, and then that's the picture that they follow through with. Like the Marty's family from the first one, or the newspapers from the second one. This is what they follow. They look at it. It's their framing device, basically, is the picture. So, Marty decides she's going to go back and save Doc rather than in Doc's letter, in Doc's letter, it tells Marty to go straight home to 1985. But upon finding out that Doc dies, which he would have died anyway, but he dies in a shootout before he's able to live his life, I guess. He goes back to save him. Upon getting there, he runs into Indians. I think that's a real funny gag, because they where they decide to do this is at a drive-in theater, and there's a little cardboard thing or whatever, has a bunch of Indians on it. And Marty says, if I keep going, I'm going to hit those Indians. He goes, you're not thinking fourth dimensionally, Marty, which is to say, like, everyone, the Indians won't be there. Well, they're wrong, because he gets going, he's 88 miles per hour, goes back to 1885, and there are Indians. There's a whole bunch of Indians there. So, he was wrong. Doc was wrong. And Doc dresses him in these clothes that are supposed to be and there's some, okay, so So Marty comes out dressed like all weird Western clothes. And he goes, I don't know about these clothes, Doc. And Doc's like, what? Haven't you seen a Western? And Marty goes, yeah, Doc. The Clint Eastwood never wore anything like this. And then Doc says, who's Clint? Who? Okay, now I know he wasn't famous at this time, but Clint Eastwood was on TV at this time. Rawhide. It was on Rawhide. So you wouldn't know him, but he was on TV at this time. So just to let you know, in 1955, he was on Rawhide. So, yeah, the whole, he goes out, you have to back up. He backs up too far, it breaks the gas line. He walks out without his boots, without his hat. Well, the bear gets his hat. And then, or the bear gets his boots. He just forgets the hat. And then he's found by Seamus McFly, his ancestor. Well, in the picture, they showed William McFly. But here, William McFly is just a baby. So it's Seamus McFly and his wife, Maggie, and their son, William Sean McFly. Okay, this is the first time that, what's her name? I forgot about, what's her name? Leah Thompson. Leah Thompson has always played like a mother figure. She was she was Mrs. McFly, the mom. Lorraine. And while they did have, a love interest, she was never, I just find it weird. Like, I know that if Crispin Glover came back, he would be playing, Seamus McFly, to kind of draw it in, but I feel like they could have used a different actress to play Maggie. Because it doesn't make sense that Maggie would look like his mom. Because the McFlys would be on his dad's side. And even in Back to the Future the game, Arthur McFly, his grandfather, or, is it Arthur McFly, I think, is George's grandfather, I think. No, George's father, I think. It looks just like him. So I think if they were able to use Crispin Glover, I don't know. But just always find that weird. And so we get the reason why Buford shoots Doc later. Buford is looking for the Doc. And eventually Doc saves Marty from being hung by Buford. And it's interesting going through these. In the first film in 1985, they're trying to save the clock tower from being torn down. In 1955, the clock tower's running fine. You kind of get that it was struck by lightning, it doesn't work anymore. And then you have, in 2015, it's still there. The courthouse is still there, so they must have saved it. But then you go back to 1885 and they're just building it. So it's weird to see the stages of this courthouse from trying to be saved to getting struck by the lightning to obviously it got saved because it's still there in 2015 to it's just being built. It's interesting to see these different stages at different points in time, not all in one chronological order. So it's really weird and interesting. I mean, Doc saves Marty, and then he tells him what happened, what's supposed to happen. I'm trying to figure out who Clara is. Here's another thing that changes. So, Clara is supposed to die by going over Shonash Ravine, into Shonash Ravine. It becomes Clayton Ravine, dedicated to her because she died there. So it never becomes Clayton Ravine, it's always Shonash Ravine. I don't know. It messes with her being alive should change a lot. So, even if money didn't go there, that would have changed. Because on Doc's tombstone it says his beloved Clara. So he saves her whether Marty's there or not. So Doc would already have changed history. Despite the fact that Doc, I was always adamant from the first film about not wanting to know someone's, destiny or whatever. Fate, of course that changes, but just saying. We get Buford Mad Dog Tannen. Again, mentions, I forgot to mention this in the second review, but there's a mention of a car accident in the future where Marty got in a car accident when he was in a drag race with Needles. And that leads to this crappy future, living in Hilldale, everything in 2015. And I'm only say it now because it's important to the end of this film, but also they mention it here. Well, that's what, when he stands up to Buford and accepts the challenge instead, Doc says, that's what leads you to that car accident in the future. What car accident? Oh, no, never mind. Because, as you know, if you watch these, you know that he doesn't like being called chicken, or in this case, yellow. No one calls me yellow. Nobody. No one calls me chicken, Needles. Nobody. Prove it, McFly. Yeah, and then he gets fired. That's in 2015, in the second one. So, I just want to mention it. But just the whole Old West vibe. I wasn't big on Westerns. I watched a little bit here and there. But, yeah, it's got a good Western vibe. Growing up, though, when I first saw this, I was kind of disappointed. Because if you think about it, you got 1955 in the first one. It's mellow. Then you go to 2015, the future, flying cars, all that stuff. Where do you end up? The Old West. I was under the assumption it was going to be like the second one. He goes back to the Old West, and then they go somewhere else afterwards and have to fix something there, and then they're finally done. But no, it takes place almost entirely in the Old West at the beginning and the end. So, because Marty intervenes, he now is going to face off against Biff. The picture changes from Doc's name to being empty, and then later changes to Clint Eastwood. That's the name he uses. Clint Eastwood. He has... In the first one, he was Calvin Klein. The second one, he didn't really have a code name. And, he was pretending to be his son. Oh, he's Clint Eastwood. Which they don't know in 1955, so Clint Eastwood. And there's another nod to that at the end. I don't know if you catch it. It's kind of like the Lone Pine Mall, Twin Pine Mall thing. But they stop against Buford, and he uses Clint Eastwood advantage. Buford shoots him. Falls down, he gets back up, and reveals he has a stove door, like iron stove door around his chest. Buford punches him, and he almost breaks his hand, and then he beats Buford and knocks him into a manure truck, which I guess the Tannens are destined to end up in manure trucks. Or manure something. And they gotta catch the train. So what their plan is, they're gonna use, because there's no... I didn't mention this in the second one, did I? But I'll tell you now. So, first film they used plutonium. The second one they had Mr. Fusion, so then it flew and everything, like at the end of that one. Here, the flying circuits are gone, which works, because there's only flying circuits here. But we'll talk about something later. And then they need regular... Here's something, is that it had always run on regular gasoline. Bullshit. In the first film, you said the only thing that would power it is plutonium. Yes, I get you need gas in the car for it to work, but you said that it's always run on just gasoline. Like Mr. Fusion changed that or something. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay? Tell me in the comments, hey, you're wrong, but be respectful. Alright? Be like, hey man, you're wrong. This. Just tell me. Don't be a jerk. Just let me know, alright? I respect every single one of your opinions. But, they're going to use the train to push them, but Doc made these special logs, which it doesn't explain how he made them, but he's got 3 different ones. Green, yellow, red. Green starts it, puts it in. Once it gets to the... Well, he throws all of it at the same time, which is weird. And then the green burns down, which I don't understand how that works. He throws them all in at the same time. And then it hits the green line, it gets a little faster. And then it hits the yellow line, it gets a little faster. Once it gets the red line, that's when they're going to go 88, and boom, be out of there. There's only one problem with that. Clara. Right, so Clara works for me. Alright, like, I've always liked Clara. Mary Steenburgen, who plays the character, is a great actress. And, because Doc tries to tell her where he's got to go to the future, she doesn't believe him. And then, so then he goes to get drunk, which he doesn't. He has one shot and knocks him out, because apparently whiskey is 1,000,000 times stronger than it is today. One shot? I could do one shot of whiskey and be alright, I think. My chest would probably burn, but I wouldn't pass out like Doc. You know? I've never had whiskey, so maybe I would pass out like Doc. But anyway, so that, you know, changed the time, and then eventually the fight with Buford. But then, so Clara shows up on horseback and somehow catches up to the train. Well, it's only on green, because as soon as she gets a hold of the train, it hits the yellow light's about to blow, and her legs go flying out. And then, so that makes sense. So then, Marty has to throw the hoverboard before the red line hits. Red line hits, Marty goes off to the future, and Doc's left behind. Or so we think. He goes back to the future, he's on the tracks and stuff, and we see that the name of the ravine has changed. It's not Shonash. It's not Clayton. It's Eastwood Ravine. That's right. They believe that Clint Eastwood died. Eastwood Ravine. Now, I have to question this. I get the Twin Pine Mall, Lone Pine Mall thing. But I'm sorry. Someone named is Clint Eastwood. Then when Clint Eastwood becomes a thing, you gotta think, wait a minute. Did he get his name from this? I suppose people would think that, ooh, that's a, ooh. Maybe in this universe, Clint Eastwood got his name, was named after. Maybe Clint Eastwood was named after a cowboy in the 1880s that died in a ravine in California. Who knows? It's interesting to think about that. Well, the DeLorean gets smashed to pieces, of course. And so he runs over to Jennifer. Well, he goes to his house. He gets the truck. He drives to Jennifer's. She finally wakes the fuck up. I mean, in sleep for God knows how long. Well, it's probably just overnight, actually, the way he went. And then she sees that they get in a truck, and then you get the drag race is supposed to happen with needles. Come on, my flag, ooh, 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 or whatever. And at the last minute, Marty spins his wheels and goes backwards. He reverses instead, and your fire paper that she has just kind of erases the "you're fired" on it. That's the one thing that's confusing, alright? Like, newspapers, okay. And picture in the first one, whatever. But, like, the picture of the tombstone just disappears after Marty stops Buford. That would mean that he took a picture of the grass. In the other time, in the new timeline, he took a picture of the grass. Wouldn't the whole picture just disappear at that point? Same thing with the fire slip. Wouldn't the whole paper disappear? I'm probably thinking too much, but so after that, they go to the crash site where DeLorean's all crashed, and then they start to come in. Like, no trains go on that tracks anymore. Here comes Doc in a new train. It says it's steam powered. You meet Doc and Clara and their two sons, Jules and Vern, which are the subject of the animated series. And then, you know, he gives Marty the picture they took at the whole shindig, and they're going to take off. My one problem is the train flies. How? The only thing I can think of is that Doc made the steam power engine, right? And then time traveled to the future to get the hover conversion done, and then went back to see Marty. Because there's no way you could do the hover conversion in 1885. He would have to get the circuits from the DeLorean in the cave. And that would cause a paradox. Because if the DeLorean's not in the cave, then Marty can't get it to go back. Here's another problem I've always had. So, you said they said they need gas, right? Half of this movie shouldn't have happened. I'll tell you why. You said that there's no gas in the tank, right? And there's a hole in the gas tank. Leaked out, no gas in the tank. So all you have to do is siphon the gas from the DeLorean that you put in the cave. Siphon the gas from that, put it into the other DeLorean's tank. Alright? And then you put a note in your letter, or you put a note in there, fill with gas. That's all you have to do. But no. See, that's the one thing I've always thought of. Why don't you just go to the other DeLorean, siphon the gas out, put it in this DeLorean, and then just write a note, put it in the other DeLorean, say, fill with gas. There's your problem solved right there. You can say, oh, that guy's his problems. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Marty could still get that. They could fill it with gasoline in 1955. Boom! And it's over within half hour, 45 minutes. There's no rest of the movie. Clara probably dies. And it's... Who knows? Doc doesn't die. Marty don't die. Clara does. I said I liked Clara. I do like Clara, but I'm just saying, it's an easy fix. All you had to do was siphon the gas from one DeLorean, put it into the other one, and then put a note in the first DeLorean saying, fill with gas. That's all you have to do. That's the one thing that I've always said watching this. Why don't they just do that? Because it makes sense. But we wouldn't have a movie then if they did that. And that's the only reason I can see is the reason why they didn't do that, because we wouldn't have a movie. Otherwise, this movie is pretty good. It's not as good as the first two. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Because I like it, but it's not the best. To me, the first one is the best. And, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Back to the Future Part 3? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Mommy.